Ever feel like you're stuck, like sinking in quicksand? But instead of you going down, it's your to-do list that's burying you
Well,
alive.
tell me about it. I think we've all been there.
Right. Today, we're doing a deep dive on procrastination, on feeling stuck, and we're going to be unpacking this really insightful story that someone shared about how they overcame exactly that.
Yeah, and it's amazing how this story, even though it's super personal, really does highlight these universal truths about why we procrastinate and, more importantly, what we can actually do about it.
Totally. One of the things that struck me right away was how much the author kind of pushes back against this idea of procrastination being about laziness. They talk about feeling paralyzed, almost like something is holding them back.
Oh, absolutely. And that's so common. It's often fear, not laziness at all. Fear
Hmm.
of failing, maybe the pressure of having to be perfect, or even just feeling completely overwhelmed by how big the task is. That story really captures that feeling of being stuck because of those fears.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And it's interesting because the author talks about having big goals. So it's not like they aren't driven, right? There's something else going on. What really got me was how honest they were about struggling, like with unemployment and depression. I think it takes a lot of guts to admit something like that, especially publicly.
It really does. And that honesty is crucial because it challenges all the stigma around mental health. I think by being so open, they're giving others permission to do the same. Don't you think?
100%. And that's where I felt like things started to change in the story. They talk about reaching out to friends, family, even finding a mental health program. And they said something like, it wasn't an overnight fix, but I wasn't stuck anymore.
That is such a great way to put it because it acknowledges that getting support isn't magic, but it can be the first step to break free from feeling paralyzed.
It's true.
And often that stuck feeling is as much about feeling alone as it is about the actual task.
It really is like someone threw you a lifeline,
Mm.
and now you're not alone in the water anymore. And interesting because that's when they get into the more practical stuff. But I almost feel like if they hadn't talked about the mental and emotional side first, all that advice would have just felt overwhelming.
Oh, for sure. It's like they built this foundation to support, and then from there they could actually think about taking action.
Yeah, it's not just theoretical. It's more like, this is what worked for me, and here's how.
Exactly.
Like they talk about breaking down these huge goals into smaller, bite-sized pieces.
Right. And I think that's key for a lot of people,
Yeah,
because those massive goals, forget about it, they're way too intimidating.
totally. And they even say, like, you don't need to have the whole roadmap, just that first step.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just focus on one thing at a time. That's how you beat feeling overwhelmed.
It reminds me of that saying, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step.
Exact.
So true, though. And speaking of steps, I love how they get into using visuals to stay on track, like to-do lists, calendars, anything to make that progress feel real.
Right. You've got to get those goals out of your head, make them
Hmm.
tangible.
Hmm.
Our brains love visual cues. So when you can actually check something off a list, that's like a little reward. It
Totally.
keeps you going.
And each thing you check off is a win, a small victory.
Exactly.
Which reminds me, they told the story about getting a job interview request. After 2 years of being unemployed, talk about a confidence boost.
Oh, the best feeling. Those little wins are huge, actually.
I know, right?
Every single one releases dopamine,
Really?
that feel-good chemical.
Yeah.
So even if it's just an interview, after tons of setbacks, your brain's like, yes, we're doing something right. Keep going.
It's such a good feeling. It's like each win gives you the energy to keep going.
Absolutely. Each one builds on the last one. It creates this positive feedback loop. Even small actions turn into accomplishments, which makes you feel more motivated, so you do more, and it just keeps going.
I love that. And what I really loved was how the author ended on such a hopeful note, encouraging everyone to just take that first step.
Yeah, it's a powerful call to action.
It is.
And it's even more powerful because it's coming from experience. Like they struggled, they came out on the other side, and now they're sharing the map, you
Yeah.
know? So other people can find their way too.
Totally. It's like a reminder that we're all in this together. Procrastination, feeling stuck, we've all been there. But it doesn't have to be a life sentence.
Not at all. The big takeaway is that taking action, even baby steps, makes a huge difference. Whether it's asking for help, breaking down a huge task, or even just celebrating the small wins, it all adds up.
So true. So if you're listening to this and you're feeling that procrastination weight, think about this. What's one little thing you can do today, right now, to get unstuck? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. What's one tiny action that can get you moving? You never know what could happen.
Exactly. That's how it starts, that one small step. And just remember, you're not alone in this. We all face these challenges, but we can overcome them together, one step at a time.
So well said. And on that note of encouragement, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Until next time, remember, even a little progress is still progress.